Becoming undefeatable may sound grand, but the ancient Stoics, especially Seneca, believed it was far simpler than one might think. Seneca wrote of a wise man who never receives injury, meaning that no external harm or insult can truly wound his core. This notion rests on the insight that what hurts us most is not the event itself, a loss, a slight, a misfortune, but our internal reading of it. Once we see that we alone govern whether such events can pierce our spirit, we unlock an unshakable confidence that does not demand superhuman abilities. It merely calls for a refusal to interpret outward setbacks as personal defeats. Seneca's viewpoint was that if someone insults you, it only injures you if you view it as an insult. If you dismiss it as ignorance or choose not to let it define you, you remain intact. Similarly, if you lose material possessions or status, you remain whole if you did not tie your identity to them. That is simpler than living in fear of losing your place in the world. Freed from that fear, you become effectively undefeatable because your sense of self and calm does not rise or fall with fortune's tides. Epictetus reinforced this idea, pointing out that any label or abuse from others has no power unless we sanction it in our minds. If we do not endorse that negativity, it cannot cling to us. This approach is not naive. It sees reality clearly, but does not let the external define your sense of worth or resilience. Marcus Aurelius tested these principles as emperor under constant threats, yet he insisted no one could truly wound his soul unless he gave permission. If crises struck, he kept moving forward, adapting strategies, but he did not interpret difficulties as personal humiliations. That mental stance granted him a kind of invincibility. Even if an enemy gained ground, Marcus Aurelius understood that a temporary setback did not corrode his integrity. He remained confident in his moral purpose. This approach, though it sounds lofty, arises from a simple decision repeated daily. You do not surrender your inner peace or your sense of who you are to external forces. The Stoics saw this as the essence of being undefeatable. You can be physically harmed, face criticism, or endure financial hardship, but you do not let those events conquer your spirit. Seneca called on people to recognize that illusions of external control shackle them. They think, if I lose this job or if someone disrespects me, I am shattered. In reality, you remain the same person with the same moral faculties. By focusing on your inner domain, how you interpret and respond, you discover a wellspring of stability. You become like a rock in the sea. The waves crash, but your core remains unbroken. This is simpler than letting circumstances push you into panic or despair. Each day you watch for moments where negativity tries to creep in from outside, and you firmly decide, no, that is not mine. I refuse to let it harm me. Over time, that refusal becomes reflexive. If someone gossips about you or you miss an opportunity, you let the event rest outside your fortress of self-possession. This is not to say the Stoics advocated indifference to real challenges. They believed in taking wise action where possible. But your calmness and self-worth do not hinge on success or universal approval. Even if events do not go your way, you remain unbroken because you interpret them as part of life's flux, not a statement on your value. That is why Seneca famously described the wise person as never receiving injury. An insult or mishap can trouble his external circumstances, but it never touches his true core. Achieving that perspective is simpler than we assume because it hinges on a single shift in mindset. No external factor can diminish you unless you treat it as catastrophic. By declining to do so, you become undefeatable in the Stoic sense, calmly meeting each new wave with the unshakable knowledge that your real strength lies within.